Hey, bro, I just wanted to just share a couple of things with you. I'm probably sure you have already read this commentary and are thinking through it and probably have some application already ready to go, which is great. These pages from Keller I thought were really good in Romans for you, the chapter 7 portion of the commentary. Just talking about how law is used here in 14, 16, 22, and then 21 more as a principle, and then 23 and 25 as like a power. I thought that was really good. And then the kind of the personality, the real me, identifying with the law of God is spiritual here in at the bottom of the page, and delighting in the law, and then what Paul is experiencing. And I think he, on this next page here, which is kind of the last part of the book, he gives the warning and comfort, which I think is really good. No one ever gets so advanced in the Christian life they no longer see their sin, right at the top of the page there. This is the Apostle Paul talking. If we're deceived, if we ever feel like we're just kind of over sin or pretty good Christians, like I think that's a really important thing to press out. And then second, that being warned that no one gets so advanced they don't struggle with sin. It's important to expect a battle with our sinful nature, and I think it's really good for people to see that. And there's that quote from Owen on the mortification of sin, and kind of this cry at the very bottom. I think is really good that the follower of Christ, his heart cries both things: this desperate cry of discouragement as we look at our own failings, and then also praise be to God for Jesus and what he's done for me and who he is for me. Just in thinking about the text, I just put a couple of notes down here. Starting in 15, he makes a few statements here. I do not understand my own actions, and I think that's a really honest statement by Paul. And as I just think back on, I've never actually preached from this text, from this whole section together before, but I've referenced it many times. I think about this text as probably more than many others reflects the reality of the human experience that we have in life as followers of Jesus. Paul's a rock star. He was a pretty awesome guy and wrote the majority of the New Testament and planted churches all over the place. And he says in 15, I do not understand my own actions. I do not do what I want to do, but I do the very thing I hate. If I do what I do not want, I agree with the law that it is good. And you reference that in your notes too, which is really good. And he's just making an accurate statement here. I know that nothing good dwells in me, in my flesh, which is a pretty big concept, I think, for people to get. I don't know that we understand that very easily. For I have the desire to do what is right, but not the ability to carry it out. And I just wanted to point out something really quickly here. This reality of a new desire in the new birth. And I think I saw this referenced in your notes too. This contrast of the flesh and the new person. So he taps into several different things that illustrate the new desire of a new person here. So I do what I do not want. The very thing I hate. Well, you hate it because you have new desires. You didn't used to hate it before, but you do now because you have new desires. And you don't want to do it now because you have new desires. And this reality of the thing that you do is just evidence of the indwelling power of sin, the indwelling influence of sin. Dave preached a few weeks ago on the fact that we're freed from bondage to sin, that we don't have to sin, but yet sin is still present, and there is and has influence over our members. This is our flesh, our old nature, our way of doing things that we know how we want to do things and what we want to do. Our flesh just says, I'll take it from here. And this desire here again, you see, there's one more reference there that I just was noticing. The delight in the law of God, in inner being, is also connected to the new desire, the new birth as well. So definitely some contrast there. And then I think there's a couple of, there's these two parallels, verse 17 and verse 20 are definitely parallels as well. I no longer do what I do. It is no longer I who do it, sin that dwells in me. And then if I do not do what I want, it's no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. So definitely some parallel statements that in there. And then this, the law waging war. Sorry, Judah's screaming here. Judah, hold on a minute. Law waging war against the law of my mind, making me captive to the law of sin that dwells in my members. And then this really, really strong statement of a wretched man that I am. I think it's just a really, really strong statement for Paul to say that. I mean, I think it communicates the real wrestling that goes on inside of him. And if this happened to the Apostle Paul, then certainly it should happen within us, that we should be able to see that and even confess that. What in the world is going on? This is real wrestling that happens in the life of every believer. And then just a really sweet closing here with this thanks be to God through Jesus Christ. I'm pointing back to Jesus and his victory over sin for us. And I think some really sweet, especially even from 15 on, just a lot of really sweet things to highlight and point out as you're working through it. So those are just some thoughts I wanted to pass along, just by way of contrast. And you're probably already tracking that way, but I just wanted to share those with you here.